Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Tortuga Gamecast. This is your host Derek, and this week I'll be joined just by Cam.
Hi!
As we've just returned from our big trip to Alaska, and we're still kind of getting settled back in, but we definitely wanted to go ahead and record another episode because there's already been a big pause in between our episodes as we were out of town. But the good news is we got to play plenty of Switch and 3DS on the plane, and so we have a lot to talk about there in our what we've been playing. But before we get to that, there's two major topics I wanted to look at today. The first was the recent release of Dragon Quest XI in Japan. Only been out for a few days there, but already huge sales numbers. This has been a big hit for Square Enix. Kind
of a surprise, too.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a series that's seen as very popular in Japan, but it's been a while since we've seen like a mainline entry come out, and there was a lot of speculation on how well it would do, especially after sales were maybe a little less than expected at first with Final Fantasy 15 in Japan. And all the talk for the past couple of years, especially about Japan, has been, console gaming is dying and mobile cell phone gaming is really the future, right? You've heard that kind of dialogue for a while, and now it's starting to change, and this is one of those things that's going to help that. People, these companies, these Japanese companies in particular, are really starting to say the console business is healthy again, and that's something we'll see in just a second as well. But the sales, so Dragon Quest XI in 2 days broke 2 million copies in Japan. It's huge numbers. And then within a week, it is being reported that with digital and physical, it's over 3 million already. Mm-hmm. Right, so this is across 3DS and PlayStation 4. This is coming to Switch, but has not been released yet for Switch. Square Enix has still kind of been like, yes, the Switch version is in production. We'll let you know more about it when we're ready. Mm-hmm. So not really sure how soon that is, or maybe it's a little while away, still unclear. But we saw, maybe not too surprising for Japan, but the 3DS was the leading SKU for Dragon Quest. Yeah, more of it, over 1 million there, but the PS4 not too far behind, just under 1 million as well. So both very successful, huge hit. Square Enix has to be thrilled about this. I mean, they're giving numbers after only 2 days. You can tell that means they're pretty confident with how it went. If they weren't so great, they wouldn't really say the numbers that openly. Yeah. So definitely happy about it. With that, we've seen a lot more gameplay come out of Dragon Quest on both the 3DS and PS4. There's a lot of footage available now, obviously in Japanese, but there's a lot to see. So we've taken a look at both.
Really excited.
Yeah, we've taken a look at both the 3DS and PlayStation 4. And typically I would think, if a game's coming to 3DS and home consoles, you would think the home console version is definitely the way to go. 3DS probably got some kind of gimped offbeat version.
Yeah, but not the case with this one, based on the footage that you see where you get to see the top-down version on the bottom half of your screen, and the top half is the 3D version.
Yeah, and they've said this 3DS version is the full game. You can get the full experience. Obviously, yes, the graphics are beautiful on PS4, that cel-shaded style that you would come to know and love from Dragon Quest, much like Dragon Ball Z as its series. Concept art was by the same artist who did Dragon Ball, right? So you definitely, people that know it are very fond of that style, and it looks amazing on PS4, the best it's ever looked. No doubt about it.
I agree. We looked at the footage of it on the 2D and 3DS first, and we looked at that first, and it looked awesome to be able to have that top-down art style, and then at the top have the 3D version as well. And then we looked at the PS version afterwards, and I kind of missed having the two different views.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, for me, I'm like, I don't know. I could see myself playing either one. I still haven't decided, but there's something pulling me to that 3DS version where you've got the bottom screen with your retro top-down 16-bit look, and then the top screen at the same time with your 3D visuals. And that's as you're exploring the overworld. When you go into battle, it goes just to the 3D on the top. Yeah. And kind of gives you your menus and options you can use the touchscreen for.
I know. For the first time ever, you think that on the home console, getting it for just the home console is not the way to go. Maybe for this game.
Yeah. It's just really interesting. Such a cool thing to see. You're like watching your characters walk around, and on the top screen, then you can peek down and see how that looks from
to see what they did. Yeah, to see the art style that they chose for the top down, or the old school style.
It's cool to see the DS used like this. I mean, these dual screen systems from Nintendo
because they do make it. We were looking at a couple of the clips from gameplay, and they do make it just. It's not like an exact replica. They do have small, slight, interesting differences, like brick walls or barriers where there is just open space, so they do.
Yeah, I remember the one in the cavern, this cave area. There was a big empty space in between paths that you could walk on.
Kind of
3D,
like a pit, yeah.
But then on the 2D, it was just like a high wall.
Yeah.
So they did.
So it's kind of interesting to see how they took a different approach with the two different visuals.
Yeah, this is something. I mean, Dragon Quest games are huge, very long games. Typically, you can spend 80, 100 hours in these games to complete them. I'm not sure about Dragon Quest XI, but I'm sure it's going to fall into that same very long, lengthy RPG, very traditional Japanese RPG from these games. I love the style and environment of them. I've really gotten to dive a little bit more into them as they brought Dragon Quest 7 and 8 to the 3DS recently. And that's been very exciting, bringing them to America, because this is a series that's always kind of iffy on what you're going to get in America traditionally. The first couple they were kind of iffy about because they thought, this doesn't really appeal to the Western market as much, and that's why they leaned a lot more on Final Fantasy and then things like Resident Evil for America and Europe, where they thought this one might not be as perfect, but they did release them. They changed the name to Dragon Warrior, right? And it's been kind of an interesting history. Now, Square Enix has said more recently in the past couple of years they're going to start really bringing Dragon Quest and pushing it in the West, and we've seen things like Dragon Quest Builders, and obviously they've confirmed Dragon Quest XI will be hitting the West, North America in 2018. We don't know anything more yet, but I am looking forward to that. Can't wait to get my hands on it. I'm not going to import and play the Japanese version. I feel like there's so much text and dialogue.
We were watching them play it's just, you're going to miss so much.
Yeah, for me, I never
especially
had so much
for a
trouble
game
waiting.
of that length and so heavily story based, you're gonna miss a lot.
Yeah, you'd definitely be missing out. I mean,
I'd rather wait.
I know people will do it. For me, the only time I even think about it is if it's a game I know isn't coming to America and it's been out for a while and they've still not confirmed it. Then I'm like, I might get a little tempted to try something out, but not something this story based with this much text dialogue, all in Japanese, and get completely lost. But definitely, I mean, awesome sales for this. It's just getting started. I have to imagine it's going to continue to sell well in Japan. Evergreen title there. When the Switch version hits, I bet a lot of people will rebuy. Maybe they bought the 3DS version, maybe the PS4, and now they want the Switch version to have it on the go, or they have the 3DS version.
You think they'll do anything with that one? As far as utilizing the two different screens that you could have, do you think that they'll have an option to where, because does the Switch automatically, when you pull it off, does it automatically take the other screen away?
It does, yeah.
Or so you don't have an option.
Do one or the other. Yeah, you can't do
You don't
both.
have an option of having it displayed on.
Yeah,
both.
when you put it in the dock, they cover up that second
Yeah.
portable screen. So it'll be one. I mean, they haven't said what to expect from it. Some people speculate, what it'll be. I would imagine closer to the PlayStation 4. Maybe the performance might not be quite as high as PlayStation 4. The fidelity might be a little lower, but it's a beautiful game, but I don't think it's too overly demanding. Like, when you watch it in action, it looks nice. It's cel-shaded, but I don't think it would be pushing a system any harder than Breath of the Wild does. I think Breath of the Wild is probably a little more graphically intense. So I think it's possible to run pretty close to the PlayStation 4 version on Switch. I'm sure there will be some changes. There always is. But I don't think it would take too big of a hit. I would expect that's the version you'll get.
Honestly, I don't even know that it would be something that I would notice.
Yeah, but a lot of times it depends. And the main thing that you hope is that it doesn't take a big frame rate hit. I don't care too much if they just kind of drop the fidelity a little bit or some textures that are less intense, but you don't want it to see it where it runs 60 frames on PlayStation and then only 30 on Switch, because you feel that difference a little bit when you play. But again, if you've never played the 60 version, then you might not notice.
Exactly.
So it's one of those things. You hope it's close to parity, but it would be really cool to have that version on the go as well with the Switch. So we'll see. By the time it hits in America in 2018, maybe it will be all versions. Maybe the Switch version's ready by then. Maybe you have the option of all three from day one, or hopefully not, but maybe they try something different and say, hey, it's only launching on PS4 or only on 3DS right now. You just never know with Dragon Quest, because it has a weird history, but I do think they've been pushing it more, and I think that it'll be everywhere that's ready at that point. That's definitely my hope, and that would be great.
That's the best way to get it introduced over here, is just to make it so easily,
available.
On multiple consoles, portable and not, just available.
Yeah, and
that's how you
they've
get
had
that
some
popular.
success, I think, recently building up that name in America again, and we saw Dragon Quest Builders did pretty well on PlayStation 4 and Vita, and just recently, yesterday actually, I saw they announced Dragon Quest Builders 2, which is kind of like a Minecraft-style Dragon Quest. So you get to do the building, but they have this story mode adventure built in also. So it's like Minecraft with this story and goals. So to me, it's a lot more appealing. I haven't tried out Dragon Quest Builders, but I've never really been pulled in by Minecraft because I'm like, what's the point kind of thing? It just seems like you're putting a lot of time into it.
It does.
But Dragon Quest Builders, you get that art style again, and there is a mission and a story, so it is more appealing to me, certainly. And they've announced...
Well, you're invested in characters that you already know and love.
Yeah, a world that you feel...
Exactly. It's not like... just nothing.
Just pixel,
blockhead. Yeah.
And I know it's huge. I mean, obviously, Minecraft is huge with the younger audience in particular, but it just hasn't really ever caught my attention too much. But I will say that they announced Dragon Quest Builders 2 for PlayStation 4 and Switch. So you're starting to see this change in Japan, where less I know it hasn't been a lot for a while, but even less seems to be getting announced for the Vita, and a lot of those things that were coming to Vita are coming to Switch now. So it seems like they're kind of pushing that as the new portable for a lot of these titles. And PS4 and Switch, I think it's cool to see builders coming to that, right? Those two consoles, great options for people if you want the home console experience, the powerful experience on PS4, or for a portable, what is a very powerful experience right now on Switch. So it's cool to see those two options going across companies, not just locked in one place. So a lot of good news for Dragon Quest. I think the sales are going to continue to be strong in Japan. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the release in North America and how strong the sales are here. Right? So that remains to be seen, but looking forward to any news, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, give updates once we hear time frames or what's going to be released. It'll be something we return to and talk about again. Because definitely looking forward to that title. It's going to be a big one, I think, next year.
Me too. It looks pretty good. Looks
Absolutely.
Very excited.
That's your good classic JRPG, which I love. So for our second topic this week, I wanted to take a second to look at and break down the third-party situation on Nintendo Switch. Now, third parties and Nintendo have had kind of a rocky relationship, I would say, for the past two generations, going back to Wii, where the Wii had some very successful third-party games, but it was so different from the PS3 or the Xbox 360 in terms of power, right? It wasn't even an HD console, that it was difficult for third parties, and they could not just port over the same games. They had to make kind of unique experiences for Nintendo. So that, I think, started to change things, and people didn't expect some of these big titles on Nintendo consoles anymore. Then when the Wii U came, you really saw that. Some third parties,
a big hit.
Yeah, some third parties like Ubisoft and Capcom were there. They did support it. Right? We saw Monster Hunter there. We saw Ubisoft with a lot of things early on, in particular with Rayman and Zombie U and things like that. But it did go away over time, right? And EA really didn't show up much at all. And that caused some problems for Nintendo. Now, I think when the Switch was announced, third parties were still hesitant. And you think about it, the Wii U didn't sell that well, right? Disappointing sales for Nintendo. And the only games that sold really well on the Wii U were the big Nintendo titles. People who had Wii U's were looking for those Nintendo exclusives, and that's what they bought.
Yeah.
Third parties struggled on it pretty hard. So
it was basically only the people that were big Nintendo fans that bought the console.
Certainly, and then people...
It was really difficult to get sales anywhere else.
Yeah, and a lot of people had maybe a PlayStation 3 or 4, depending on the time period, and a Wii U, right? And then bought all their big games on that other console, and then just bought the Nintendo games on the Wii U.
Yeah.
So that became a problem for Nintendo and third parties, because it just didn't seem like it was worth the investment. They weren't going to make a lot of money, or maybe weren't going to make money at all on the Wii U. Now, so I think when the Switch came out, a lot of third parties were hesitant to support too much. You see some support, right? We saw Bomberman at launch was kind of a big deal. We know Ubisoft has been working on Rabbids, which comes out this month, and that's a big title. That's exciting for Nintendo.
It is. It's just a really current title.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, you have to think about it. Ubisoft agreed to make a game where they got to use Mario and these Nintendo characters because, like we said, those are the games that tend to sell. So maybe that's the only way they were willing to take that big of a risk. To have the Nintendo characters as well. So who knows? That might have been Nintendo's way to get them to do something, right? But either way, that title looks great, so I'm happy about it in the end.
I am too.
But the third-party situation has been a little rough for Nintendo, but I think the pages are starting to turn a little bit for Switch. It's still, you're not hearing a lot of these big titles are being announced. The new Assassin's Creed coming out this year, not coming to Switch, right? Wolfenstein, not coming to Switch. Those things are not announced. But I think you're starting to see a little bit more and more. One that I want to talk about first is Capcom, right? Capcom was there pretty early on with the Switch with the Street Fighter II Final Challengers update. So Street Fighter II, an old game, they've updated it. Added a couple new characters that are really just like skin swaps for other old characters anyways. And they charged $40 for it. And a lot of people were like, that's too much. Now, I personally was like, no, I'm not going to pay that. Like, I would value that game at like $20, I probably would have bought it. But not really anymore, So that was hard for me to accept.
Why do you think they did that?
Huh?
Why do you think they did that?
To make money,
It just seems like when you want to make it a little, like even at like $30, it could be like just that much more.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they had someone running the numbers like, look, we could sell this many at 30 or projected to sell this many at 40, and it was more money, I think. And this the Nintendo cartridge, you hear everyone complain about that's expensive, so maybe they thought it needed to be 40 to make money. But either way, with all the negativity surrounding it, it ended up selling. They've announced this has sold 450,000 copies, which they consider a smash hit. I'm sure they made money on that because, well, it did take development, of course, to make this game, but it's not going to be a massively expensive game to make. They're porting over an old game, right? An old, very old game, and 2D fighter, classic. It's considered one of the greatest fighters of all time. I'm not trying to knock Street Fighter 2. I just feel like it was expensive for what you're getting. There's no real arguing with that. But 450,000 copies, Capcom themselves said it's a smash hit. And now they plan to support the Switch even more. They say it kind of shows that it's possible to be
It
successful.
is. It's showing
here.
to others that
Yeah, and they're taking it as a go
willing-
sign, and I think
ready
that's
to
great.
invest.
I remember when I heard, but just as the game was coming out, they said they were going to decide their future Switch support based on Street Fighter 2, and I was like, well, that's awful. And I was like, it's not going to do well. Then they're going to say they're going to use it as an excuse to say, well, Street Fighter 2 didn't sell well, so we're not making anything for Switch. And I was worried about that, because we've seen that in the past from third parties with Nintendo. Well, we heard that was the rhetoric around Wii U. Now, this
now.
Yeah, this being a smash hit, they're excited to support, and we're seeing a lot of Japanese companies excited to support the Switch. I think there's a lot of buzz around it there. I mean, you see these huge lottery lines with thousands of people lining up who can't even get them yet, so there's demand. And they've said they're going to continue to support it.
By the way, if anyone, if it's available in your area, comment below this video.
Yeah.
We're interested in knowing. We live in a fairly big metropolitan area, and
you still can't find them.
no, you can't find them. But I don't know if that's maybe just because we live in the middle of Atlanta.
Yeah.
But
seems to be hard to find
Yeah.
still. I'm sure some places maybe you can find it. Like when I went to the store the day Splatoon 2 came out, they were there, but they didn't last. Yeah.
so if they have been available in your area, I'd like to know where that is.
Yeah, right. I'd like to know. They're definitely not available online, and when they are, it's still very short periods of time, and they're gone. But here, successful for Capcom with Street Fighter 2 Final Challengers, and now they're saying they're going to support it even more. And they've already announced this week. They said they had several titles in development, and they've announced that Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2 will be coming to the Switch. So that's pretty cool. They have both physical and digital availability for that. The physical version you buy, and you get both games. Now, Resident Evil Revelations 1 originally was a 3DS game that was made, they did HD ports to the other consoles, and then 2 was only on the other consoles, didn't come to anything Nintendo, so it's cool to finally get access to that. These are more like the traditional Resident Evil games, kind of your slow moving tank controls.
Given that they're having issues with the cartridges for Switch, I would like it if the ports would just be available digitally.
Yeah, I mean,
that would
at
be
least to have the option. Yeah, I think it goes both ways. I like to buy physical when I can, just to save space on it, and I like to have it. It's kind of a collector thing. And I think it's only good for Nintendo to have when people walk into a store this holiday season to have
to have more
games sitting there on the shelf, right? They want that, and I think that's important. So Resident Evil will be there. That's great. I'm still like, come on, Capcom, because I really want the Monster Hunter Double Cross port that's coming out in Japan to come to America, and they've said nothing on it. And I'm worried that it's not going to happen because I'm worried that they're going to focus on Monster Hunter World for PS4 and Xbox One. And I'm like, well, I might buy in on that, but Monster Hunter for me has always been a portable game, right? It was on the PSP, it was on the 3DS, and I like being able to play it portably, so I would rather have it on Switch. Even if it ended up being a port of World, either way, I'd rather have it there. So I would love to see that. I'm hoping they will change their mind on that, but I'm kind of getting the feeling that may not happen. So we'll see. But looking forward to more support from Capcom in the future. That's a good, Japanese developer to have in Nintendo's corner, certainly. I think a lot of popular games in Japan in particular. We also saw Take-Two, which may be a little bit more focused on America and the West here. They've already said that they're very optimistic with the strong early sales of the Switch, and they plan to continue to support it. They believe they will be successful there. They have 2 major games announced coming out later this year already, so I'm sure they're hoping these are going to perform well. They are NBA 2K18 and WWE 2K18. Now, if you're not a sports gaming fan, you might think that's not exciting, but to the point I made a second ago.
I would play the WWE one.
WWE, yeah.
Yeah.
Those games can be fun. The wrestling games definitely can be fun.
I have a soft spot for wrestling.
Yeah. Well, for me, the reason those titles are such a big deal is because, again, when parents walk into stores this holiday season and look at what's available, they're just looking at the shelves, and you see basketball, and you see wrestling, and you see FIFA is going to be there as well.
Yeah.
Soccer, all these things on Switch. It gives it legitimacy, I think, for those parents looking to buy consoles, because a lot of times kids like to play the sports games of whatever sport they play.
It's just a kind of an easy choice where
Yeah.
you don't have to read a lot about what the game's about, and it's just you can pick up and play.
Yeah, and it helps that that helps fight against that idea that Nintendo doesn't have these games, because those sports games are some of the things they've kind of missed out on during the Wii U era. So having those come back, I think, is great. For me, I'm probably a little bit more interested in NBA than WWE, but I do see that wrestling games can be fun. It's like a fighting game, right? When it comes down to it. So that could be cool too. I'm a little bummed about the news we got this week with NBA 2K18 that it's going to come out day and date with all the other consoles digitally on the Switch, but the physical version is going to be delayed. They said they're just saying that's going to come out this holiday. It'll be out, but not the date that the version comes out digitally for Switch and comes out on all the other consoles physically.
I don't know that I like that.
Yeah, it's complicated. So again, it just always seems to be something with third-party support on Switch, right? And I don't know. I mean, I think the audience that's really big on sports games, I think I would bet a high percentage of them still buy their games physically, because I think it's a little bit more of that casual audience who goes
It
to the
is.
store.
They
And
go to the
picks up their
store,
game.
and if they see it there, they buy it. But they're not, checking deadlines.
They're not
and,
waiting for the hour that it's available.
Checking
digitally and
headlines
downloading it.
and trying to wait to see when it's coming out.
Of course, there are exceptions. I'm sure people do download them. I know that's obvious, but I'm just saying I think a large percentage of that fan base probably still likes to pick up their copy or have it shipped to them from Amazon. So that does hurt the Switch. That's not great.
If you, a lot of it, for the people that play like that, if they don't see it, they don't know that it's there.
Yeah. So a little back and forth with NBA on the Switch. Now they have said it's a fully featured version. It's going to be this, like everything you can get on the other consoles you'll have on Switch too. So that's great. But I'm a little worried about this delay. Hopefully it's due to just not having access to the cartridges or not being able to make enough yet, and hopefully it's not some sign of, hey, this isn't going to run well on Switch. I hope that's not the case, but that remains to be seen. Then, finally, another one that's interesting this week is the studio Virtuous, which is known for ports of AAA games to other consoles. They've recently done the Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age port that they brought to the PS4, right? And they brought it to the modern consoles, an HD kind of up-res for that. They've done the Assassin's Creed Ezio collection for Ubisoft that put those first 3 Assassin's Creed games all in one collection, brought them to the newer consoles, the Xbox One, the PS4. Then they've also did that Batman Return to Arkham collection that came out a couple years back and was kind of received mixed things because, on one side it didn't have the third game in the Arkham collection. It was just 1 and 2, and it was not that long after 3 had come out. So people think I think people hoped it would have all of them there, but it didn't, right? It's just the 2. Now, those are cool games, so it could be that they're going to port one of those to Switch, because it's been seen from their LinkedIn profiles of one of their employees that they are working on a Switch port. So they've been hired. That's what they do. They port to other consoles, so they're going to bring something to Switch. So a lot of people speculating what it could be.
Yeah,
It could
exciting stuff.
Yeah, it could definitely be one of those games. I would be really excited for Final Fantasy XII. That'd be a great game to have portably, soak a lot of hours into. Or Batman. I love the Arkham games. I could always go back to those. Right? Just love playing as Batman in those games. The whole environment and everything, it just feels so authentic. So those are awesome. I'd probably be a little less excited for the Ezio collection. I do love Assassin's Creed. I've said that on here before, but I think the first 3 Assassin's Creeds have kind of aged with the Ezio collection. I don't think that there's something really worth going back to. I'd much rather play one of the new Assassin's Creeds.
Yeah.
Right? Those just the movement and everything in those was advanced for the time, but those are pretty old games now, right? So they're not. I don't think it'd be as fun to visit now. No.
I'd like to see Bayonetta.
That would be awesome, yes. Great point. There's been rumors of the Bayonetta port ever since Platinum posted those pictures of Bayonetta with the red and blue on the 2 sides, so it looks like the Switch. That would be awesome. I'd love to see that. I really want to revisit Bayonetta. I hope it comes to the Switch. It's possible they could be, maybe Platinum hired them to do it. It could be. I would also like to see the Wonderful 101 from Platinum, which was Wii U title that I think deserves more attention. The big one for me is, okay, they've worked with Square Enix before. They've done Final Fantasy. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would be really excited if they brought the 2 recent Tomb Raider games, maybe in a collection over, or maybe just one of those games to the Switch. That would be so cool to play on the go. I really always talk about those games. Also, the same way I talk about Batman is they're kind of like modern takes on the Metroid formula, right? You need to get these upgrades to be able to advance and these things, so they're kind of like 3D Metroid-esque type games. I think Tomb Raider would do really well on a Nintendo console. I think the fan base would overlap there. This classic, really well-known character of Lara Croft. I think the Nintendo audience would gravitate towards that, so I think that would be a cool one as well. But any of those could be exciting. Now, I do want to say, as exciting as it is, it's great to hear studios working on a port for Switch. It's also a little bit, to me, like it just shows you what this situation is. The fact that it's news that a studio is going to work of a port of a third-party game for Switch, the fact that this was, you go to IGN or you go to any of these major gaming sites, they reported on this. I don't think it would be news if it was a port for PS4.
Yeah.
Right? They would say, well, obviously, yeah, they're always working on something for those consoles. Then once it was announced what it was, it would be news, but not beforehand. So it does show you that this is still iffy on Switch, but I definitely think these are all signs things are getting better, right? Capcom said they're going to focus mainly on Nintendo and Sony. A lot of the Japanese companies are saying that, and then you have Take-Two saying they're going to support it. It's a great sign for the future, so I'm hoping these things continue to build and that it's going to be good for Nintendo in the future. I'd like to see more on the Switch. Always good to have options.
I want it to do well. I need it to do well.
Absolutely, yeah. All right, then I want to move on to our What We've Been Playing, which is a little different this week. We got to spend a lot of time playing on portable consoles, so Switch and 3DS, because we had that long flight back and forth to Alaska. So it was a great opportunity to check some things out for Switch. One of my first times really to get to travel with it. It's fun. It was cool. I was excited about traveling with it and getting that experience with the Switch.
It was nice. It was a little frantic.
Yeah, the travel itself. Yeah, absolutely. But the Switch.
No, just like having it on, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It was like,
Yeah. Going through things, yeah. And I did notice, like, you and I were sitting next to each other. You were in the middle seat and the person on the end seat. And I could always kind of feel them looking over at what I'm playing.
This is the second time now that we've traveled long plane rides with the Switch. And it's like I'm in between. It's so uncomfortable because I always sit in the middle seat and you always sit near the aisle of the window. And the person either to the right or to the left of me is just staring over me. It's so uncomfortable.
Yeah. I think it's just a new piece of tech that people are either interested in or they don't know what it is, so they're trying to check it out. You know, something that's like, that's not quite a tablet. He's got a controller.
Yeah, or maybe they did. The one guy definitely knew. Because
you can kind of tell maybe one or another. Yeah, the one guy was talking about it and he's like, oh, I want to get one. And then the others, I think maybe just, who knows, right? But either way, it does draw some attention when you're traveling.
For sure.
But 2 games that I checked out on that now. Splatoon 2 came out the day that we left. So I went and picked it up in the morning and then was able to play it on the plane. I was really excited about that. On the way there, that's the main thing I played. Obviously, just the campaign mode. Can't play online. But I really enjoyed the campaign in Splatoon 1, and I was excited to check out Splatoon 2. I got pretty far through it. Now, a lot of people are probably going to be like, you could have finished that on the plane, which I could have. But I'm more of the completionist, and as you're playing Splatoon 2, you'll beat a level, and then eventually you get more and more weapons, and it's like you have this check-off thing that shows if you've beaten the level with every weapon or not. So I'm going back and doing the level with the dualies and doing it with the bucket and doing it with the roller and the sniper. Like, so doing levels like 5 times rather than once. So I'm not done. I'm like at the end of World 3 out of 5. But I really enjoyed my time with it. It does have that Super Mario Galaxy feel like Splatoon 1 did. And, you know, you're kind of...
It's just so fun looking. You know, it's just so colorful. And
yeah, launching around. I love the enemy design.
Smooth.
The bosses are always fun. Yeah, no, I will say it's a lot like Splatoon 1. Right, but I kind of expected that from the campaign.
Yeah, I don't feel like they tried to say that it wasn't going to be.
Yeah, it is expanding on what Splatoon 1 did. I think the campaign is even more well done. Now, I haven't got to the end yet, but so far, enjoying it a lot. It's very focused on teaching you how to play Splatoon, which I think is incredibly smart. That's what the campaigns do in that game very well. So I enjoyed my time with that, and I was a little worried about being on a plane and using the motion control on the Switch and how that would work, but it was fine, because you have to make such slight adjustments.
They are. They're really, 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 it's not like you're, you know,
yeah, I'm not really moving it around, bugging anybody around me, so it was no problem. It worked great. I had an awesome time playing that. You know, by the end, my Switch was dying, and I was like trying to plug it in on those really low charge things on the plane that does not keep the Switch alive. It sustains it longer, but it does not keep it alive. Know that beforehand. It might be a good idea to plug it in. On the way back, I plugged it in from the start, and then I was able to make it. But it died on the way there. I played a lot of Splatoon 2. When I got back, it was about a week late to it compared to everyone else, but I jumped into the multiplayer. I've really enjoyed that as well. I will say, Salmon Run is my favorite part of Splatoon 2. That co-op horde mode type thing and the rewards for it and the tension, they can really make it hard. When the level gets foggy and a lot of it's surrounded by water and you don't really have anywhere to run, and they can be like 4 or 5 of those bosses attacking you at once, it's really challenging. It is hard to survive. But I really enjoy it. I know it's a mixed bag based on if your teammates seem to know what they're doing or not, but I love Salmon Run. My only complaint is it's not available all the time. It's just like everything else in Splatoon, like Salmon Run is active for these 3 days, and then it's off for 2 days, and then it's back. So when you sign on, you may or may not be able to play Salmon Run. And that's kind of a bummer. I find myself checking the Splatoon 2 mobile app to see if it's available or not. You can see everything there. I've really enjoyed the mobile app for purchasing weapons and clothes.
Yeah, you've got a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, the clothes on the app are different from the ones available in the store, so you can get like exclusive opportunities, especially at a low level, to get really good gear. In the game, it limits you to, hey, you're low level, so you get kind of this junk gear for now, and then we'll expand it as you level up. But the phone is like, whatever's available, it rotates every hour, one new item in, one out, and they can have really high-level stuff there. So I was able to pick up some stuff that's like really good before I was supposed to get to it, and that's fun. So I've enjoyed that. I don't think the phone is great. The app is not great for the chat. I think it's cumbersome, and it's kind of a pain. All right, so I've just been playing Splatoon 2 without chatting to other people. But for the other aspects, it's pretty cool. Now, Splatoon 2 Online, I also got to check out our first Splatfest that we've had since launch. Technically the second one. The first one was available to anyone as a demo. This one, the Ketchup versus Mayonnaise. I put in my time for Team Ketchup. I think in the end I was 6 wins and 2 losses against Mayonnaise.
Fixed.
And we lost.
Ain't no way.
Yeah, I know. I was so bummed. I was like, I knew we had the percentage, because unfortunately, most of the matches I went into, I ended up playing against Ketchup people. All right, so I played a lot more than 8 matches, but the 8 that I played against Mayonnaise, I won 6. So I was like, oh, we're good. I mean, obviously my 6 matches mean nothing in the grand scheme of things.
They mean everything to me.
Right, and I felt good about it. But we still lost in the end, and I was disappointed, but I was, still when I signed on Splatoon 2, I think I got like 13 of those clam items that let you upgrade and take slots or add slots to your items or redo them. So that was cool. I was still excited about having that.
Yeah.
So in the end, it worked out. I had a good time. I was feeling pumped when I went to bed after playing a bunch of it. I was like, oh, we are winning. And then I woke up to see, But in the end, had a great time with that. Splatoon 2 multiplayer, really fun. I haven't really gotten into the ranked mode yet, which I want to because that changes what weapons are good. Right now, when you just play the turf war, it's like, I want to try out some of these other weapons, but I feel like I've got to use like my arrow spray that just hits a huge area because that's the only time I'm like really winning. I was getting frustrated earlier trying to play different stuff, and I'm like, man, my score is lower. Then I went back to the arrow spray, and like my last 2 matches, huge scores, and I was like, yeah, dominated. I was like, I guess I just got to stick with that until I play ranked because the ranked modes change it up completely and make other things a lot more viable. But enjoyed Splatoon 2 a lot. The other one that I jumped into was Disgaea 5. And let me tell you, I have loved my time with Disgaea. It's one of those things that's actually has me like wanting to go back to it more and more. It's really fun thinking about it when I'm not playing it and strategies and things. It's a tactical RPG in the vein of Fire Emblem or Final Fantasy Tactics, but so much more weird and over the top. And it's one of those games that's happy to embrace how weird it is. And like I'm early in the game, so I'm not there yet, but I know this is one of those games that by the end you can do like 9,999 damage and enemies have so much health that it's just ridiculous. Like you could scale that back all by 100 and it would just make more sense. But they just do it to be ridiculous. Like your attacks are crazy on screen. Like one of your enemy teammates will jump up in the air and then you jump on him like it's like some kind of skateboard and you're riding around and like launch into the enemy with them. There's a huge explosion. Just ridiculous. But so much fun. And I love checking out all the different classes, and they have all these things, that you can get for teammates, and that's so complex. I mean, like, to the point of, just as an example, if you've never played Disgaea, it's always telling me new things I can do. And I'm like, okay, I figured it out now. And then you finish the mission, and it's like, hey, you can do this in town now, too. And they're ridiculous things. Like, there's now, rather than going on normal missions, I can choose to use one of my weapons that I'm using, or some piece of gear that I have equipped to a character, take it off them, and then say, we're going to enter the item world, which is you entering that item, this world that exists inside the item. You have to, like, beat 10 levels or 20 levels of the item, and then it'll strengthen up the item if you can. You're, like, going through fighting this dungeon, continuous thing to strengthen up your item. Super weird, but awesome. And it passes the time so well. I really enjoy the game. I know people can spend hundreds of hours on Disgaea, because you can beat the game, and then there's so much post-game content. I don't know if I'll do that. Definitely going to stick around to beat the game, and then I guess we'll see how hooked I am at that point. But I've really enjoyed it so far. Tons of fun. If you like Fire Emblem, but it doesn't feel like overwhelming to you, I would recommend this 100%. If Fire Emblem is you're iffy and it feels overwhelming, this will absolutely be too much for you. Right? This is it with a lot more rules. Right? It makes Fire Emblem seem simple compared to this. But very fun. The characters are cool and funny. They're incredibly quirky personalities, and they have dialogue back and forth between them in town. It's not like relationships or anything like in Fire Emblem, but just talking and kind of getting on each other's nerves or getting along. And it's interesting. It's fun to see. It does make you want to keep going and see what's going to happen next in the story. It's your typical like super bad evil guy that you're going to go after, and you're working your way up to him. So enjoyable there. The art style is cool. It's all hand drawn, so it's a nice looking game too. If you like those tactical RPGs, I would give it a recommend, as long as you don't feel overwhelmed by your more normal tactical RPGs. If you can handle Fire Emblem and think you could do a little bit more, this is a great one for it. So, something to look at there. How about you? What have you been playing recently, Cam?
I think we've both been playing Miitopia and on my new 2DS XL.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Overcooked. We tried that out.
So, yeah, we'll talk about both of those. We have both spent time with those games. Overcooked on the Switch. I've been waiting for this to come to the Switch. I thought it's a perfect console for it. I actually have it on Xbox One.
Yeah.
Double dipped for it, because you can just the idea of taking the Joy-Con off and be able to play this kind of game with someone, it seemed perfect to me.
Yes.
Right. So I'm a fan of Overcooked. I did double dip in it.
I hate the game. Can't stand that game.
Yeah. So we've taken some time to play it. We got to play it.
Played several long hours.
Yeah, I think we played a couple hours,
Overcooked.
maybe 2 or 3. But for you, I think they were anguishingly long. So we played 4 players, right? So you got 4 people running around in the kitchen. It's craziness. It can help you really accomplish some things. It's all about you have to be so time efficient. If you don't know what this game is, like you're making burgers or soup, but the things burn, and you have to bring supplies, and you have to serve them in a certain amount of time and clean dishes.
So much waste.
And they make it to where you just don't quite have enough time and space to do it, right? You really are pushing. Like if there's ever a second where you stop doing something, you're not doing
shattering.
it right. Yeah. Yeah. So it's great, for my opinion, great to play with other people. Not maybe as worth it if you're on your own, you'll be playing by yourself.
No, definitely not on your own. If you're on your own, just get something like Diner Dash.
Yeah, so you can play this on your own, and it actually puts 2 people in the kitchen, and you can switch back and forth and control them both. And you kind of have to manage both. So it's still cool, but it's definitely is at its best when you're playing with others. Either at least 2 people, 3 people is good, 4 is good, right? You can do any of those options. We were playing 4, so it's definitely felt like that too many cooks, right? If you know the too many cooks.
Yeah,
it
we
can
played
feel like
it.
that.
We took it over to my sister's house and played it with. It was me, you, my sister, and her husband.
Yes.
And I had to walk away. There's a couple times where I had to walk away.
Yeah, a little stressful for you. I love it. I'm all into like, okay, this is how, after we finish around, I'd be like, this is what we can do to be more efficient.
Yeah, you were so into that, and I was
Yeah.
raging. I was
I love
raging.
that, yeah. I think you had a little more stake in it. It was getting to you, burning you. I was kind of like, it was good, we can do better. I was trying to cheer the team up. I think
That's my worst
most people
nightmare.
enjoyed it.
My,
I think we were
my
kinda like, okay.
nightmare is being in the kitchen with other people.
With too many cooks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the
Get
worst. I saw this and I was like,
out
oh, Cam loves to cook. She
of
loves
my
these
kitchen.
kind of co-op games. This is going to be perfect for Cam. And it did not work out. And it kind of blew up. So I'm going to have to find someone else to play this game with, I think.
No. I mean, I'll play with you because we have a deep love for each other.
That's
but
true. You're not playing for the game, you're playing for
I'm
me.
playing for you.
Yeah,
I'm not
absolutely.
playing for
And
that
I'm sure
game.
I'll probably at some point be like, Cam, let's play. Because I like it. But that's when I guess we probably split on it. I would give it a recommend. If you have people to play with, I think this is a great multiplayer game. I know it's been received well. A lot of people say this is one of the best local co-op games in years, that kind of thing. But with Cam's point, if this kind of thing can stress you out, this time management thing, it can stress you out. They're likely, for me, I enjoy it, but it's pretty likely that at some point you're going to start yelling at
if
people
you're
you're
a
playing with.
completionist, and
Yeah.
so am I, and
Yeah.
so is everybody else that we played with. So
Yeah.
we had to get those 3 friggin' stars.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah, I think
We
as
were
got-
like one order too shy
every time, just barely,
Over and
just
over and
barely
over
not
again.
making it. Yeah, You
until
blame
2
the game.
o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, yeah. The burger level kind of kicked our butt there for a while,
Mm-hmm.
but we did well overall. I think I would give this a recommend if you have people to play with, as long as you understand that at some point when you're playing this, you're going to start yelling at the people you're playing with. Get out of my way! Do this!
100%.
What are you doing? I was like telling people they were fired.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the kitchen, told everyone they had to refer to me as yes, chef. But I love it. But maybe not for everyone. If you're into these co-op kind of games and you like that stress and that time management, it is perfect. You'd love it. But check it out. Look at some videos. You'll get an idea of what it's like pretty quick. It definitely pushes you to be perfect with your time. It does control a little slippery. I think that's intentional to make it more stressful.
It's so sensitive.
Yeah.
So you can be like to the left side of the pot, to the right side of the pot, to the left
Trying
side
to
of
put
the
these
pot, to
onions in the pot and you just keep missing. Yeah. Yeah, you have to take that extra second to do it, which in the game you don't feel like you have an extra second. So it's
No,
pushing
and then
you.
somebody puts the speedy boots around you and it just completely knocks you all over the kitchen.
Oh man,
It's
it doesn't
terrible.
tell you that in the controllers that you can do the speed boost.
It doesn't tell you that until somebody does it to you.
It's game breaking. They speed boost and push you out of the way, and you're like, okay, it's on. We're no longer friends in the kitchen.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So cool. There's a lot of kind of neat characters you can unlock in it. We got a raccoon who was in a wheelchair, and I was in love. Like that is my character. Moving around in that wheelchair, raccoon. It's perfect. Raccoon in the kitchen. All right, and then the other one, Metopia. We talked about. We got to play the demo, but we got this. You got your brand new 2DS. We had ordered and.
Oh yeah, I was so excited.
Yeah, we ordered it, and we were so unfortunate. It came out while we were in Alaska, so we waited to get it when you got back. We were kind of in a little bit more. It would have been hard to get where we were in Alaska.
Yeah.
Probably impossible.
Probably impossible.
But
actually.
so we got that when we got back, which would have been awesome to have on the plane. We probably would have played so much Metopia if we had it. But right when we got back, we kind of jumped into that. I was bummed to see. I thought we were going to be. I said last episode we'd be passing back our cartridge back and forth, and then I gave her the game after I played a little bit, and she's like, am I deleting yours? And I was like, whoa, what? And then I looked at it, and there's only one save file. I think that's a huge bummer.
It is.
Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe it's so much data with all the different menus you're saving and stuff. Like, okay, but it would have been nice to have at least 2. Usually,
At least 2.
Most Nintendo games I feel like have 3 save files, but it is 1.
Or
So,
just tell you. I feel like I guess they don't need to tell us. But
in this moment, I had a choice to make.
felt
I either
hurt.
have Cam delete my file,
It felt
or
personal.
I'm buying a second copy because she was so excited to play Metopia. I was like, it has to happen, and I ended up caving and just saying, okay, I have my physical copy, and we'll download you a digital copy. It'll be awesome.
Yeah.
You can boot it up anytime you want. We can also have Animal Crossing in your 2DS ready to go. Those are, perfect games that she would enjoy. And so we have 2 copies of Metopia. Proud supporters.
Yes, I
don't
love
really regret
it.
I don't really regret it. I've
don't
enjoyed my
either.
time so much. Metopia.
I put so much time into this game.
Yeah, we'll find ourselves sitting on the couch or sitting next to each other in bed, both playing Metopia and laughing about stuff like, hey, your character just said this to me, or like this kind of thing, or I'm getting in a fight with my brother, he's jealous over the relationship I have with you. He's staring at us through the window. So it cracks me up, absolutely. I love it. I mean, it's one of those things I can see myself replaying right now.
It plays that scary music that.
Yeah, it does when they're staring at you.
Yeah.
That murder music.
It is murder music.
But I've loved it. It's one of those things I can see myself replaying. This time my party is me and you, my brother, and then my cousin, right? So it's like fun to see all of our interactions. But I'm like, if I played this again in the future, I'd do it completely different. I'd make like the main character Mario, and then do like Luigi and Link and Samus, and see how.
Oh yeah, I'll do it over. Mine is Miyu, and then my chef is Morimoto.
Chef Morimoto, yeah.
Yes, and my thief is Sheik.
Sheik, yeah, perfect. Right, so you kind of mixed it. You got me and you, then you did the imaginary casting that I want to do maybe in the next playthrough. But it's really fun. I hear complaints, and justified, okay? This is not a difficult game. People are like, you can walk through this game easy, you just beat all the enemies. Yeah, but that's not really the point, right?
It's not.
The combat is kind of secondary. It's fun to see your characters fighting and being all over the top. It's more about the animations and things like Tomodachi
It's about
Life
the personality.
Yes.
It's the deep personality in the game that makes it so fun to play.
So don't buy this if you're only looking for a traditional Japanese RPG. It's not what it is, right? And I don't think it's been marketed that way, but some people complain about it. Yes, it's easy, but it's so about watching your characters fight and then go to the hotel and how they interact and all those things. It's just fun. I find it addicting.
It's like Sims, but like still fun after you build your house.
A little more gameplay with it, right?
Yeah.
So something else to do, and I enjoy the combat. It's fun. You only control your character. The other people are at their own will, and it's funny. So if you keep that in mind and you think you would enjoy something like that, definitely give this a go. If you played Tomodachi Life and liked it, I would say absolutely do this. I think it's a better version of that. It's more fun. There's more to see.
I loved this game.
Yeah.
I thought it was fun. I'm gonna play it over and over again with different characters.
Yeah.
As soon as I think I killed it because unknowingly I casted the bad guy as Voldemort.
Yeah.
And they keep referring to him as Dark Lord.
Voldemort. They do use Dark Lord. That is pretty perfect.
I know.
Yeah.
I felt like a genius.
No,
I felt like I beat the game.
See, I did out of my passionate, hate. I made James my bad guy. Guess he's not here this week. He is the Dark Lord James. They talk about it, but he's got like that frowny face on his knee, so he's really not scary when he shows up. I'm like, I almost feel bad for this guy. What does he need? But
Jolly James as your bad guy.
Yeah. So, it's been great. Absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if when we get done recording this, that's what we go do is go play some Utopia and hang out, because we just have enjoyed doing that. Even though it's a single player thing, it's been a social thing for us. It's been awesome. So, really fun. You finally got that 2DS. I'm so excited to expose you to a lot of these other 3DS games I know you haven't seen quite yet. Like I'm going to push Animal Crossing on you, and then A Link Between Worlds and all these other things. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Because we had one. I had one, and then we got rid of it for a while.
Well, we had two 3DSs, my old 3DS when I got the new 3DS XL, and we were playing for a little while. We were playing Monster Hunter together and things. And then it was at the time where I was super into Overwatch, and we traded in to get a second Xbox One. And we were playing Overwatch together. Yeah. And I think that was a great decision. We had a lot of fun with that.
We played Overwatch a ton for months. We played Overwatch.
Recently, I think 6 months we played when Overwatch, right?
Oh yeah.
But now
just nothing but
I've been we're missing the second 3DS, so I'm really excited. We missed out on Triforce Heroes, and I know that's something we're going to be looking at. Probably talk about next week.
We didn't miss out on it, babe. It's still there.
Yeah, we missed out on it at the time, but we're going to come back to that now. You, James, and I, we're going to
delayed
get some Triforce Heroes action in. Yeah, so that'll be a lot of fun, and maybe some Overcooked if we can convince Cam.
No.
All right, but I think that's everything for what we've been playing this week. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be back next week.
Oh, my review on the 2DS.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've got it side by side right here with Derek's 3DS XL, and it is a lot lighter. I think we both noticed that he got the red 3DS XL, and the 2DS is just this matte black.
Blue and black is the only one they have in America. The orange and white is only Europe and Japan.
I have the matte black and blue. It is better for that reason, because his red one shows a lot of fingerprints. While it is shiny and pretty, his red one shows a lot of fingerprints. Mine has virtually none. It's a lot lighter. It's the weight is mostly in the lower section, so it's in your palms and not it's not like teetering in between the top and the bottom, which is really, really nice.
As compared to the 3DS XL, the 3D screen is a little heavier.
Yeah, it is. It's thicker. So when you open up the it's sorry.
Get some music.
When you open it is like weighted more in between the top and the bottom. Well, this one is just all on the bottom, which is nice. I think it makes it comfortable for the palms. I really like it. I think I like it. I think if I had to choose in between this one and a 3DS XL, I would choose the 2DS XL. I don't miss the 3D screen at all.
Sure.
I never used it anyways, and don't really like it when it's on.
One thing I like about it is that the game cartridge is has that flap to cover it.
It does. It has the open flap, which is definitely good. You got to be ginger with it because Definitely something that's going to be easily broken.
By little kids.
Yes. So be easy on that.
But it is nice to cover it up and it's all flesh and it feels like your game
It
won't
is.
just be accidentally popped out if someone clicks on it or anything like that.
But overall, I like it. If I had to choose between the two, I would choose this one. It's lightweight. It's smaller.
I think it's a
Looks
very
good.
viable option. Yeah, if someone's out there thinking about what to
And
get.
for the price,
Yeah.
it is
so
phenomenal.
that's $149. You've got your normal 2DS still available at $79.99. And then the 3DS XL, the new 3DS XL is $199. And those are really the only options that Nintendo is still actively stocking, right? And I think it just depends what you want. This 2DS XL can play all of the the new 3DS exclusive games like Xenoblade. You can play it on there, no problem. It just depends what you're looking for. I do like some things about the 2DS XL. It's lighter. The triggers on the back, I think, feel a little better.
I like them better
because
too.
they are closer. They're under that hinge.
The
is different.
the hinge is on the outside.
Yeah.
And not internal. So I think it does make a more comfortable area for your finger to lie because it's not. I don't know. I think it's just more comfortable.
Yeah, I will say that I've noticed comparing them side by side, the screen is a little brighter on the 3DS than it is the 2DS. So I think your screen quality is maybe a little better, and I think it's because it's that 3D screen. There's some things that had to be done. Like if you have the 3D turned off, it's just a little bit brighter. But they still both look really good. I don't think there's a problem there. I personally am in the minority in that I actually do play a lot of games with 3D on. I know most people don't. A lot of people are like, I have that thing off all the time. And if you're one of those or you're tried out someone else's 3DS and you don't like the 3D, I would recommend the 2DS XL. Yeah. If you've tried it out and maybe do like it, well, the 3DS XL is still a great option. I mean, for me, like when I'm getting Metroid soon and I saw that demo video, it looks great in 3D. I like the depth it adds. So it just kind of depends if you like it or not.
These are going to be gone around the holidays. I think they're pretty much gone right
Absolutely.
now. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
3DS XL was impossible to get.
Last holiday, everything was gone, and now Nintendo, I wasn't sure what they do with the 2DS, but they just recently announced there's a 2DS bundle coming out with new Super Mario Bros. 2 already installed.
Oh.
Still $79. Great deal.
That's great.
Yeah, so that's going to be a huge hit this holiday, too. I mean, I think absolutely, I recommend if you're thinking about it for a kid or something, the 2DS is an awesome deal. $80 and you get access to this huge 3DS library. It doesn't close and fold. Yeah, and it doesn't have 3DS
That's almost
screens.
better for kids, honestly, because there's nothing, it's like less breakable.
That 2DS is built like a brick. I mean, it is solid. People laugh about
That
it
is
being like a
Nokia
doorstop
phone
and stuff.
technology.
Yeah, I don't own one now, but I used to have access to one. I kind of had one on lend when I worked back in the day at Toys R Us in college. I was like working with the Nintendo rep, and I had a 2DS for a while to show off in the store and got to bring it home and test it out. It feels really good in the hands. It's really cool. You get kind of big, rounded triggers on the top where you don't have that on the normal 3DS. They're not those little buttons. So it's a nice system. If you're looking for one on the cheap, either for a kid or for yourself, I just want to try out some of these 3DS games, but $150 is too much. $80, 2DS is a steal. Absolutely,
sure.
I think it is for what it gets you. But that does, I think, wrap us up then this week. I'm glad you reminded me. I wanted to talk about those comparisons. We have them both sitting here, and we've been giving them a lot of work recently. So 3DS still going strong, and Nintendo continuing to improve on the model, I think. You can definitely make that argument for the 2DS XL. But thank you so much for joining us this week. We will be back next week. I think we'll have a cast of 3 again, is what I've been told. And we'll be talking more about all of our impressions on what we've been playing, and hopefully some big news pops up this week for us to talk about as well.
Yeah.
Have a good week.